Now we're going to go back to the cherubim that wanted to be like God. He dressed as a serpent to fool Eve, and after this God condemned the serpent to have to crawl on his belly. Now serpents have, to our scientific knowledge, never had wings or legs. However, ancient cultures seem to know that the serpent once had it, showing how the story of what happened in the garden might have been something they all knew of. And you can see these images from, for instance, Egypt. Now, there might be a double condemnment here. In the Bible, the cherubims are described with wings and not the angels. Now, the cherubim's wings were a part of their work tool, or their function. The wings were used to protect God and what is holy, and they used them to humble themselves before God. Now, if a cherubim would have his wings taken away from him, it meant that it lost its job and function. So God may have let us know here that the betrayer also lost his job as a cherubim, and the instrument he used, the serpent, partook in his punishment. And we're going to talk more about cherubims when we go into the details of the Ark of the Covenant. As you've seen on the pictures, it has 2 cherubims. But again, instead of protecting God's tree like a cherubim should have done, he did the opposite. Instead of defending God and his law, he did the opposite. Now notice on some of the images from the early religions from Mesopotamia, where you also see cherubim standing on each side of a holy tree. Now it's interesting because you can see that not only the Bible but also the ancient religions had elements of the same stories in them. So, back to Israel. Now God leads them out of captivity in Egypt towards Canaan, a land he had promised Abraham. But first God wanted them to come to Mount Sinai, where he would make a special covenant with them. They were to represent him to the world. So God met with them there, and through his servant Moses, he asked them to build him a sanctuary so he could dwell amidst them. And this is how the sanctuary looked. And Moses was told to build this after a pattern that another author in the Bible, Paul, says was of the heavenly things. So this sanctuary was a copy of a sanctuary in heaven, very important. Now it had 7 main items, and 2 of these items combined were the Ark of the Covenant, and it was to stand in the place called the most holy place of the tabernacle. God wrote with his own finger his 10 commandment law on 2 tables of stone, and these tables were called the 10 words and God's testimony. Now I want you to remember this as we continue the study, God's testimony. These tables of stone were to be placed into the ark, and so this is the basic, and in the next episode we're going to get down to business and talk about the ark's significance. What is the ark and what is the purpose of it? Why did God ask to have it made? To learn more about Adam and Eve and the Israelites and the ark, you can please study the book of Genesis and the book of Exodus for a more complete picture. And these 2 books are the first 2 books in the Bible. Now in the next sequence we're going to talk about what the ark is, and the ark is several things, and we're going to start off with focusing on especially one of the things, and I think this will amaze many. Thank you for listening.